People often assume two simple things about food when they hear disabled. Either someone else does everything, or he cannot be trusted near a stove. For many viewers, that is where the story ends. In reality, the situation is more specific, more practical, and far less dramatic than people imagine. A man is 49 years old, he is disabled, and he has a home life that includes both capability and limitation. When he steps into his kitchen, his body can do what matters. He can stand, he can reach his cabinets, and he can operate the tasks that are usually framed as too difficult. What people often miss is that disability is not a single condition that produces one uniform routine. It produces different routines depending on the exact constraints, the exact layout of the home, and the exact energy budget he has available each day. A lot of people treat disability as if it automatically means no independent living skills. That framing does not hold up. In the United States, about 1 in 4 adults lives with some form of disability, roughly 61 million people, and about 1 in 7 adults has a mobility disability. Those numbers are large, but the more important truth is what the numbers imply. Many different bodies exist, and many different barriers exist. Two people can share a label and still face completely different daily risks, different fatigue patterns, and different workarounds. For him, the kitchen is not the obstacle. The obstacle is elsewhere, in the house, at the stairs. The stairs shape when he can move, how long he can stay active, and how much planning he must do before the day even begins. That is why his week does not look like a highlight reel of constant cooking. And it is also why he does not comply with the stereotypes that people apply automatically. Understanding that distinction is essential, because the question people ask is rarely what is the real barrier. The question is usually, why does he not cook every day if he can reach the cabinets? That is a fair question, but it has a real-world answer that goes beyond strength, reach, or physical capability inside one room. Monday through Thursday, most meals comes from his mother. Not because he is incapable, not because she is performing charity. In his household, this is simply the arrangement that works, an arrangement that is far more common than most people think. In the United States, approximately 47.8 million people provide unpaid care to a family member. That is about 18 out of every 100 adults. When caregiving includes a mix of paid and unpaid help, the number rises above 57 million. Meal preparation is among the most frequently performed caregiver tasks, consistently grouped with transportation and shopping. So when his mother cooks 4 nights a week, this is not an exception hidden in the margins. It is part of a structure that supports disabled adults and older adults across the country. It happens quietly, in homes where cameras do not roll, and where family members do not always receive public recognition for the work they sustain. He also recognizes what the routine costs her. Even if his mother would never frame it as work that exhausts her, he sees the time and energy it takes. He does not want to create a story that turns her into a background character. She is part of his day-to-day survival, and pretending otherwise would be dishonest. At the same time, his own routine on the other days is not a separate universe from those nights. It is connected to them through shared resources: time, energy, safety, and planning. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday belong to him. He feeds himself on those days, and the options are usually simple: an air fryer or a sandwich. That may sound underwhelming to viewers who expect elaborate meals, but it is the result of a careful decision-making process. Simplicity is not the same as lack of effort. It is often the most rational way to reduce risk and manage energy. The air fryer is his default for all 3 days, not primarily because it is fast, and not even only because it is easy. The most important reason is safety. Standing over a stove or handling a pot of hot oil for 3 days in a row on his own, without anyone else in the home to help if something goes wrong, is not a risk he is willing to carry. It is not fear for the sake of fear. It is a sober calculation. A slip can happen. A burner can burn unexpectedly hot. A pot can spill. A moment of distraction can turn into an emergency. Safety is not a bonus feature. It is a baseline need. The air fryer changes the risk profile. There is no heavy pot of hot oil to lift or carry across the kitchen. There is no prolonged standing over an open flame, managing splatter and burn risk. There is no bending down into a hot oven to check repeatedly, which adds discomfort and increases the chance of missteps. Instead, he loads a basket at counter height, presses a button, and can step back while the food cooks. Multiple disability organizations and occupational therapy professionals have pointed to air fryers as genuinely useful tools for people with mobility and dexterity limitations, precisely because they reduce the kinds of tasks that are most hazardous. Sometimes the meal is something like chicken nuggets and a quick side. Sometimes it is a simple, repeatable item that he trusts, food he can prepare without improvising. The routine is intentionally predictable because predictability protects him. It helps him avoid the what-if moments that come when a method requires constant attention. The sandwich option is even simpler. On certain days, the sandwich matches his appetite and his energy better than a full cooking cycle. Not every win needs to be a complete multi-step meal. Sometimes the win is that he eats safely without asking anyone else for help at the wrong moment, without needing to stretch himself past what his body can handle that day. Food, for him, is not only about nutrition. It is also about maintaining a life that does not become a constant negotiation. What he wants viewers to take from this is not a slogan about independence. It is a more precise idea. Independence does not have to mean doing everything yourself every day, the hard way. Needing help 4 nights a week does not erase the 3 days when he can manage his own meals.
Both truths coexist. This matters because many disabled people feel pressured to choose one identity, either the person who needs help or the person who is fine. The actual lived reality is often a middle space, and that middle space is rarely shown honestly.
There is also a food security angle that should not be treated as separate from disability. Research on major U.S. cities has found that nearly 1 in 5 people with disabilities experience food insecurity in a given year, compared with roughly 1 in 16 people without a disability. That gap is one of the widest disparities researchers track, and in some studies it is even larger than gaps tied to housing costs or medical costs. If support is removed, if a caregiver stops cooking, if transportation becomes unreliable, if routines collapse, food security can change quickly. For some disabled people, a parent cooking 4 nights a week is not a nice convenience. It can be the difference between eating consistently and going without. He does not want that point to be framed as an apology or a plea. It is a fact about structure. A household system can protect him. Another household system might not. Food security is not only about money, it is also about capacity, time, and safety. That is why he does not take these support nights for granted, and why he prefers to say it plainly instead of letting the routine appear like something effortless. If you are disabled and you rely on a parent, partner, sibling, or another family member for some of your meals, that reliance is not a failure. It is not proof that you are helpless, irresponsible, or less capable. It is part of a common pattern of how disabled people live. The guilt can still show up. He has felt it, and many others have described it in their own words. But the caregiving statistics demonstrate something crucial. This is not merely personal shortcoming. It is a normal, structural part of disabled life for many people. The goal is not total self-sufficiency at all costs. The goal is knowing where your real capability lives and using it. For him, that capability shows up most clearly on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, when he can cook within a safer method. For someone else, capability might look like managing medications independently, completing paperwork reliably, or doing their own laundry on a predictable schedule. Capability is not an all-or-nothing switch. It is a map. Some viewers will ask the question directly. If he can stand and reach the cabinets, why does his mother not teach him her recipes and he cooks them every night? It is a reasonable question, and he answers it with honesty. Cooking is not only about whether a person can physically execute steps. Cooking is also about energy, and energy is not unlimited. He must budget his standing time, his pain levels, and the energy required for cleanup. Prepping a full meal while standing at a counter for 45 minutes is not a small task. After that, the kitchen still has to be cleaned, and the day still has to continue, possibly including stairs, transitions, and whatever challenges his body presents. If he tried to replace the 4 nights his mother covers with nightly cooking of the same type, he would spend energy that he needs for other parts of daily life. That is not laziness, it is resource management. Every disabled person he knows performs some version of this calculation, even when they do not describe it out loud. They look at what the day requires, decide where the energy can safely go, and design routines that protect long-term functioning. So his actual week looks like this. Monday through Thursday, his mother cooks. Friday through Sunday, he cooks for himself, most often with an air fryer, sometimes with a sandwich. The routines are not built around perfection. They are built around safety and sustainability, around the reality that risk must be managed and energy must be spent deliberately. He does not present this as a miracle or a moral. It is simply what works. And if you share his situation, if you are disabled, if you care for someone disabled, or if you simply want a clearer picture of what daily life can look like, you can use his week as one example of how support and independence can coexist without contradiction. If you want more real routines, not polished ones, then share yours. In the comments, describe how your week is split, what you handle yourself, what someone else handles, and what you use to make the days safer. And subscribe, because the next videos go deeper into the reasons behind this routine, especially the real reason the kitchen is not the hard part of his house.